Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Chukas from Revii Chamishi. This week's Parsha we have the death of Miriam, and after that the water from the miraculous well that went with them ceased, and the Bnei Israel complained to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu ended up hitting the rock to make the water come forth in a miracle, but he was punished for that. And Moshe and Aaron were told they cannot go into Eretz Yisrael, but they would die in the Midbar. In Revii, Moshe Rabbeinu progresses to try to take the Bnei Yisrael to the land. So this is Perik Chaf, Pasuk Yudalid. Vayishlach Moshe mal-achim mi-Kadesh el mal-ach Edom. Moshe sent emissaries from Kadesh to the king of Edom, Kol Marachicha Yisrael, etc. And he's trying to get them permission to go through the land of Edom, which would be the fastest way, but they are denied repeatedly. And but the Bnei Yisrael, they went around a different way. Once they would not let them through, they left from Edom. So we have a couple of questions here. Why does it say in the Pasuk that Vayishlach mal-achim mi-Kadesh? What do you have to know that it was from Kadesh? Also, Moshe Rabbeinu, who's the Anov Mikol Adam, he called himself that a mal-ach took the Bnei Yisrael out of Egypt, and one of the explanations is that he was referring to himself. And Moshe here, he doesn't mention the name of King of Edom, but in other places, by Sichon and Og, mal-ach, he did name the names. Why here did he not mention the names? And perhaps some other lessons we can learn from this short section in the Parsha from Revii Chamishi. So the first question is, why did Moshe Rabbeinu highlight Kadesh, or why does the Pasuk highlight that? And the answer is that Kadesh is where Moshe was punished, the incident with the Revii, and he was no longer able to go to Eretz Yisrael. So normally when someone has a business dealing with someone that's very uncomfortable and he's treated improperly, has a bad experience, so he's just going to avoid the person and he's not going to help him out anymore. But Moshe Rabbeinu was on such a high level that even though he was punished, that he would no longer be able to go to Eretz Yisrael, because of the Bnei Yisrael, he immediately went from that place in Kadesh and tried to get the Bnei Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael as soon as possible by contacting the king of Edom. And why was the king of Edom not mentioned by name? Because he wasn't a particularly strong king or anything like that, and the Bnei Yisrael didn't fight them, so there was no miracle to explain. Meanwhile, the Bnei Yisrael did fight with Sichon melech Amori, Og melech and defeated these people who were well known for their powerful strength, and therefore the miracles of these battles were enhanced because of who they were. But in the case of Edom, it didn't matter. And why would Moshe refer to himself as a mal-ach, as opposed to being Anav when he's dealing with the king of Edom? Firstly, he's dealing with the king of Edom, so he's elevating himself. But also there's a story about an Adam Gadol from Vilna, who he was out and he was taking a wagon driver who was using an irreligious wagon driver, Jewish, who was using a horse and a cow to drive the wagon, and that's an issur of kilayim. You can't have two different animals together. Firstly, because it's God's commandment, but the rationale is because they'd be going at different pace, and it would create hardship for at least one, if not both of them, to not be in sync by being different species with different strengths and weaknesses. So anyhow, he told this kafri, this denier, you can't do that. It's kilayim. He didn't listen. He laughed it off. He did it. So this Adam Gadol said it again, and the man was disrespectful. And finally, a third time, he says, "Do you know who I am? I am the greatest of the chachamim in Vilna. And when I get to the next town, I'm going to advertise your name, and I'm going to put you into cherem." And from that, the person was scared. He had the respect now of who knew who he was dealing with, because it was necessary, not because he wanted the kavod. But this way, the person was able. He ended up separating the cow and just using a horse, and not being over on this big lav d'oraisa of Kalayim. So Moshe Rabbeinu too, also he was making a point, you should let us through because this is who I am, this is for the Bnei Yisrael. And why was he, and then one other question to to discuss is why was Edom not punished because they didn't bring out food, let the Jews pass, but Moab and Ammon are punished and they can't become part of the tribe of the Bnei Yisrael. So the answer for that is given here is strictly a physical thing. They didn't want them to come in their land. They were afraid or whatever it was. They were cautious. But in the other scenarios, so it wasn't the right thing to do, but they weren't punished for that. But the Bnei Yisrael, but by other situations where they end up creating enticements for the Bnei Yisrael, immorality, for that downfall, that's why they weren't able to marry into the Bnei Yisrael, the Amon and Moav. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.